All right, here we are again. It's just me and Cameron. Unfortunately, we don't have Dimitri on it. We had some I don't know scheduling issues, um, and we wanted to hurry up and get this out since it's already been over a week since we have had our fun out in Minneapolis at Paisley Park.
Mm.
Cameron's first time out there. And you see the smile on his face, I'm sure. You see him? See him? Look at him.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That
So, Cameron, how'd you like it?
there are no proper words in the English language or in the Webster's dictionary to tell you all what I felt that whole 3 days being out there. It's just otherworldly, I guess. It was just so ah, it was like no other experience I've had ever, to a degree.
Hmm.
You could.
So, let me give everybody a quick idea who may not know. I think pretty much everybody that we're talking to knows, though. But on the 21st, they had announced pretty much what like 2 weeks ahead of time. They gave us a heads up this time that there was going to be something happening.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be the piano and the microphone show that he planned on doing overseas. That had gotten canceled. There were issues with the tickets and scalpers and things like that. But then the attacks in Paris happened, and then he decided to go ahead and cancel the tour over there. Um, so then he set up a gala or gala. I don't know which way you pronounce that properly,
I've been confused the last few weeks.
but but basically an upscale event at Paisley Park where he was going to do two shows in one night, just him solo on piano. Um, so that's what we're going to talk about first. It was later that it got announced that we were going to have two more nights at Paisley, and that just added to the fun. So um, yeah, just in general, let me just start by saying I've seen Prince. I've lost count now again. I counted at one point, but well over probably 60 times now.
Mm.
Um, these two shows, especially the first of the two, was it took the number one spot for me. And I've seen him in a number of different capacities, big arenas, small clubs, Paisley Park, you know, on solo on guitar, with big band, with small band. I mean, every way that you could possibly think of to see him and his genius and his band's genius and adding to that. But to see him alone on any instrument is a lot, really, to take in, because you're just seeing his genius by himself and giving that to you. But to
Yeah.
see him alone on piano, the way that he gave this to us was something completely different, like 100% different. And the only thing that I could say when that show ended was absolutely genius. The show, the way he put this together, the way that he presented this to us, um, there were no other words that I could even try to come up with. So let's start with that.
Oof.
That was my summary of. I mean that if that could give you an idea of how we all probably accepted that show. The, he took us on a roller coaster ride just in that show, because it was very deep, and I don't think we expected that. We didn't really know. I don't think really what to expect.
But
Uh,
especially, no one saw that coming. No one.
no, we didn't. We didn't.
That. Ooh. Mm.
Um, What, Cameron? What did you think when the show started? Because I was kind of confused at first.
I was very confused. I'm hearing him say dad, dad, dad. I'm like, what in the world is he doing?
Yeah.
And then he's sitting up on the piano acting like he's eating chips and drinking soda and watching TV, and I'm like, okay. But at that point I didn't recognize it. So I was lost. But
Right.
then started to talk about how he wanted to be like his dad, and then he started playing with music, and then he started to play the theme of the Batman, the TV show Batman at the time, and I was like, oh,
Mm.
that was when the light bulb went off, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be different. It's already different, but just that right there, I was going, okay, we're in something now. And it just progressed and progressed and progressed. And I was just intrigued. That's all you could do. It was like watching a it was like watching a movie slash theater thing in regards to how it was progressing. It was like a one man show that you see on Broadway. It was just in his house, Paisley Park, and that, oh my God, I I couldn't believe what I was watching. It just got better and better with each song.
Yeah.
It really did. And you, what you said in terms of shows and all, I've seen him about 20 plus times now. And that I can say that was my number one too. Both
Yeah.
the shows, but especially part one. Oh,
Mm.
yo, I would call it the closest to an autobiography that we will probably ever get from Prince,
Yes.
because that's what it seemed like.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I was a little lost at the beginning, um, only because there was a heavy reverb on the mic. I couldn't understand what he was saying.
Yeah,
Um. But once I picked up on what he was quote unquote acting out, um, he really started off from 3 years old to, I don't know what, early 20s is where he took us. Um,
he. I would say 30, because he ended the show, or one of the last songs was Anesthesia, and he
okay,
was
yeah,
30.
you're right.
It's
Yep,
actually
yep. So he
so
gave us that timeline in that
yeah,
first show, and what it was about 2.5 hours, I guess.
yeah,
Um,
it was
and every song that he played was pretty much the full song, um, pretty much.
most part. Yeah,
I mean, it was emotional because he's telling his story and he's reflecting on his life, and but you're watching him reflect on his life and you're watching him go through those emotions the only way that he honestly knows how to go through those emotions, and it's through his music. It's the way he's always been able to go through any emotion.
that's
um,
right.
he's told us that, and he's told us that many different times through his music also, is whenever he goes through something he goes back to the music. So here he is in front of an audience doing just that. So, um, I mean, there's been times where in shows where he'll say, I've shown you my heart, now you show me yours. And in this show, he not only showed us his heart, but he like opened up his heart and like gave us a piece of it by taking us through this show, or taking us through this journey of his life the way he did. So there was a number of different times that me and everybody in our group broke down crying with him. you know, I mean, it was by the end of this weekend, we were absolutely drained of every.
Yes, we.
I mean, it was we just, yeah.
Emotion that you can think of, that was what was experienced
Yeah.
the entire 3 day period, but especially that Thursday on the 21st.
Oh yeah.
Every That's hit like,
Mm.
and you didn't see it coming. I didn't. I
No.
did. I did not think I would cry. I've never cried at any concert of any kind that I've been to in the 15 years I've been going to concerts, including Prince's. Maybe a tear in my eye, but not no. No. But then that show happened.
Yeah.
And, uh,
Yeah. We had some moments.
we really,
we,
we really did.
we did. We did. All of us did. I mean, and more than once though. I mean, yeah. I it was good though. I mean, it wasn't necessarily just sad. It was just I don't know.
Because a lot of it was a lot of it was stuff that you could relate to in your own life.
That's there you go. That's one way of putting it.
He talked a lot about his father,
Mm-hmm.
and if you put think about that, you probably have someone in your life that means the world to you. You know that was always there for you and always meant something symbolic. And for him, it was his father,
Right.
and that was like the cornerstone of that show, and or at least a big part of it.
Yeah.
And you could think about anyone and that's what I was doing. I thought about my grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
and that really, it touched me in a way that most things don't touch me, in a way that I've never really been touched before in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the reasons why that show means the world to me.
Yeah.
Really did.
um. Yeah, I'll agree with that because I think I thought some about my father. Um, he's still with me, but he's up in age, and you know, the reason that it brought me to him was because Prince had said something about how he always felt like he couldn't he never quite could play like his dad when it came to
Yeah.
piano. And he was
Yeah.
always trying to better himself and get to the point where he felt like he could play just like his dad, but his dad always reminded him of that he wasn't as good as him. And that's that old school mentality. That's an old school, like, you know, discipline, I guess. Like you ain't never gonna get like me. you know, it's harsh, but it's also a way of how that old school parents push their kids.
Right. Right.
And that's how my dad is. So as soon as he said that, I was like, "Yep, that's dad. That's dad." I could hear that all. I could, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so he really because you never really hear Prince talk about his dad or any of his family really.
No, no,
And more in recent years, he's mentioned here and there, um, but he really opened up with it this time, and really talked about the influence that his dad had um, on his music or on his uh, on his wanting to be able to play and what it was that pushed him to want to play to the caliber that he rose to. Um,
yeah,
there's always something there that pushes somebody to do something, and something that's some goal that they want to reach. And I think that was what it was for him. Was he saw his dad and he wanted to do it just like him, or maybe better. And maybe to us, we probably feel like he did make it to a higher caliber. But to him, he's probably thinking maybe he never did. But you know, that's a true musician for you. Any artist is always going to push themselves and think that they never quite got to where they wanted to be, because there you can always do better. That's the thought, you know. What are some of the songs, Cameron, that stuck out for you?
The very beginning, when he started doing what he heard on the radio, would I just found out it was bits of "I Second That Emotion"
Mm,
from Smokey Robinson. I was like, whoa, okay. And then he broke out into "Who's Loving You," the
yeah,
Jackson. I was like,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
I was not ready.
yeah,
That was one of the first of the what we all like
yep,
going on with that. That it was so beautiful because I've never really heard, aside from Just My Imagination by the Temptations, I never heard him do any much Motown.
right.
So to hear that and to see that that had some kind of influence with him, I was like, okay, wow, all
Mm,
right. Of the generation, but still, we hear so much of him listening to Jimi Hendrix and rockers and stuff. You don't think of the other part
right.
and stuff. So that stuck out. And when he did Dirty Mind, I nearly went to the floor. Because that was a song that I've always wanted to hear him do and never thought he would ever do. Because I
Yeah,
don't think he's sung since the 1980s. So
yep.
to, when he did those first words, the first words, something about you, babe. I think that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, 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 no. I was, I could have cried right there. I was so done. I was done already.
when
Oh,
he
oof,
when he did Dirty Mind, um, that was right as he was telling us um, that he felt like he was pretty good,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that he was still that he was at the point now where he was trying to find himself. I think basically as a musician and as a man, and um, you know
That song.
that's about the right age where he's what early 20s then, and he's still trying to feel things out, and that was a perfect song to to
Really was.
I mean, because yeah, he was controversial for the music business back then, and um,
At that point, he was a one-hit wonder
yeah,
because I Want to Be Your Lover, which he did play, which was great because he actually did the instrumental part at the end that I love
hmm
so. But that definitely made him put him in a league of his own of sorts, being new, relatively new, and then just coming out the gate with the type of songs that he was doing
right.
in 1981 and all that. Oh, and then we skipped over Baby. The
Oh
first,
yeah,
oh, that was just
yeah, yeah.
beautiful. Yo, we were, the place went crazy too with that because no one saw that one coming either.
Mm-mm. This,
You
yeah,
know,
this show, it was, well, both of them really. Both shows were full of songs that we had absolutely no idea. I mean, they all just kind of hit us from behind. We had no idea that, like I said, we didn't know what to expect. But
yeah, real.
I mean, I don't know if we expected just to hear the hits or something, but that is not what we got. That is not what we got. We
I mean,
got
there was a little bit of that. So
Yeah, but I
those
mean, but it was like it wasn't like the normal like sampler set type of thing. It was totally
and
different.
thank God,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
need to hear some sampler set. I needed fleshed out songs and stuff, and that is exactly what we got.
Well, and even the hits that we heard were different than what we normally hear. I mean, it just everything flowed perfectly. It
It
was
was. more of the brilliance and genius of Prince being able to do a song like Kiss and is on the piano. No, none of that stuff. Nobody knew until he said you don't have to be beautiful that it was Kiss.
Right.
So that just like, okay, we are on to something now for real. We were already cooking with gas, but that really just took the car even further.
Yeah.
Oh, it was, oh man.
After, well, we're not gonna go through the whole set list, but a highlight for me, and part of, well, the show that made me cry. So, or the part of the show that made me cry, and I'm trying really hard to get through this explanation without doing it again.
You'll be all right.
Is
Gotcha.
Free. When he played Free, that's already an emotional song, right? So, but everything was cool and stuff until it clearly got to him. He had to stop playing in the middle of the chorus, and he said, "Peace to David Bowie." So then I was like, "Oh Lord," you know. And so that, because I had already told Cameron before we went out there that if he played A Case of You, I was likely going to cry during that song.
Sure did.
And so here I go. I start to cry during Free because of the whole emotional song. And then he says, "Peace to David Bowie." And I'm crying because David Bowie's passed. And now he goes into A Case of You. And I'm like, really? Yeah. So that, yeah. But I would love to hear that song finally. You know, Joni Mitchell. Yeah. But Prince, yes. Yeah. I love that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure most everybody at this point has seen the set list, so we won't go through everything. But then I have to mention that he did do Paisley Park at Paisley Park.
How appropriate!
Yes,
it was so appropriate with that, and it was a sing along.
Yeah,
and just so beautiful.
Yeah,
It really was.
That was fun.
I do want to add one more thing too. The other highlight, probably the biggest, was when he did "Sometimes It Snows in April" with the first show. And I mentioned earlier about my grandfather. Prince had said right before that, he was talking about his dad. I think he had just did "Unchain My Heart" by Ray Charles, or right before that, I think it was, because he said that was a song that him and his father would battle on. And then he talked a bit more about his dad, but the one part of that speech that he talked about that got me was he talked about how his dad was his best friend. And I started to think about my grandfather. And at that point, when the show was done, it was a week before the 6th anniversary of my grandfather passing. And he started to go into "Sometimes It Snows in April." Beautiful song already, and a song that I have wept to in the past. But as the song was going on, for some reason, I kept thinking about the memories of me and my grandfather from childhood up until his passing in 2010. And it just, out of nowhere, I just bawled. It just hit me in a way no other song that I can recall has hit me, at least not in a very long time. And certainly not at a concert. And to have that happen was something that I needed at that moment. And I love, it just reminded me about how much I love, but also miss my grandfather. And I am thankful that he did that song.
Yeah.
The time was right for me. And so that meant a lot.
Yeah. We all shared some good emotions that night.
Yeah. Most definitely. Most definitely.
Look at you trying to make me cry on camera. Stop it.
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying. With my daggone self.
Lord. Oh, okay. um, I actually held it together for the most part during that song. I was trying to be strong for my brother Cameron, right?
I was done.
uh, but yeah, but there was a few times during that particular show, uh, free and what did I say it was?
Okay.
A Case of You. Yeah, those were the ones that really got me. But yeah, you talking about when he mentioned that his dad was his best friend. He had just finished saying how his dad never missed an opportunity to remind him that he would was not as good as him. And then
How about
he said, but he was my best friend. So that was cool to hear. That even though they had their ups and downs, just like any his family, that's everybody. you
so
know,
much?
but um, he still that was kind of his inspiration, and when he's sharing with us where that drive came from, which is cool. So I got my phone trying to ask me questions here. Hang on.
Technical difficulties.
Siri
And
is trying to talk to me. Yeah.
give you more information about that show. That's right.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, Unchained My Heart, that was cool to hear.
Yeah, it was.
Um he played Baltimore. Um let's see. And Anastasia was what ended that show. And I always love to
Yeah.
hear that one live. That's a cool one.
He did the breakdown from
Yeah.
Artificial Age. I was like, yes, yes, yes. That was so awesome on the piano.
Yep.
Really, really was.
Hmm.
And Venus de Milo.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so gorgeous. And so perfect for this sort of thing that Prince was doing. That was
Hmm.
such a. I forgot how beautiful that song was.
Oh, A Condition of the Heart too.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Condition of the
Yes.
friggin' heart. Uh, I. Mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm. That's the pure beauty.
Yeah.
Pure friggin' beauty.
Oh, wait, we can't forget he did A Ballad of Dorothy Parker.
that,
What? What?
that song right there.
He started it and I
Yes.
was like and then he stopped it and I'm like, man. And he went on and
I,
played a
I,
couple other songs and then he came back and played it through and then I'm like, all right, cool.
I
Cause
that song.
yeah, I haven't heard that live in a long time. So yeah.
I, you know what? I don't know if I ever heard that song live or not. I mean, I've been to so many shows, but that song, if I did, it was one of the very first Prince shows I attended, like maybe the one I alone in
Hmm.
2002. But I'd have to find a set list for that show from the Vegas one. Otherwise, or the after show. Otherwise, I don't think he did it for any show I attended. So to
Yeah.
hear that song, I was just tickled purple that night with that. 'Cause I
Not
really,
tickle pink, but tickle purple. Yep.
that's right. We go purple with that man.
And speaking of, this was a gala, right? So
Right.
our crew, we
Oh,
came right,
we
right.
showed
Look,
we showed them folk how it was done and how it's supposed to be done at a gala event
yeah,
because so many of them were looking like they came out of Walmart. But I digress though, because at least you showed up.
yeah.
But
I
uh-uh.
I mean, it's cool. However you came, but I'm just saying, I'm just saying,
I
we
miss them.
we we kind of shut it down with it because we all looked pretty good that night. I would
Yeah,
say.
absolutely.
Cam
It
Cam had his purple paisley tie on and everything, and
sure
yeah.
did. I said I got to look fly for this moment because I don't typically. I don't need so to be in a suit. I was like, I went from top to bottom. I made sure I got shoes and socks. I was ready. I was ready to go.
Yes, sir.
And I loved it. My suit felt great. I felt great. I was in the place I've been wanting to go to. It couldn't have been more perfect. And oh man, ah, ah,
Mm, mm.
every single one of you that's watching this that didn't go, you have to make it your life's goal to go to Paisley Park, especially if you call yourself a Prince fan of any kind. You need to go. That's
You
all
hear
there is.
him? You hear him? You gotta go.
Gotta go. You gotta go.
Stop playing.
Deuces, y'all. Book, call out sick. Do what you gotta do.
Make it
Get your
happen.
house in order. But you got to be in the house one day.
Cause read
Cause
his
it,
shirt. Cause, cause this
cause,
could
cause
be us.
you be playing.
You
Stop
playing.
playing.
Stop playing.
Stop playing. Play all them board games, all them games on your phone, your whatever. But you can't play with that. You hear
Yeah.
me? You cannot play with that. You got to go. You save up your money now. Save up them coins now.
Get yourself a purple piggy bank. Make it
Purple
happen.
savings, purple savings account, Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank, all them, all
Make it
City,
happen.
ever. You got to do what you got to do.
It is well worth it. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Oh my God, it's beyond that. I mean, it's the time of life. Hell, I dare say, even if you watch this and you're not in the Prince or you lost your way somehow, this just the fact that it's about music. And if you say you love music, this is a part of music history,
Yeah.
and it's something that you should do just for the sake of seeing history and the beings in a place like that. I mean, it's just amazing. It really is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just get all giddy when I think about it.
Look, he
It's
can't
just
even wait. He can't even wait for the next time. Look at him.
I telling you, I I have to go back. I mean, it's one of those cases where you can't just go there one time and be like, okay, that's all I needed. You got to go back because you know there's something more. You know, it don't matter if it's the same places you've been to. It's going to be a different experience because that's how the concerts are.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine being in his actual personal space, so to speak. Oh my God. Change your life. Change your life.
And I've been saying that, like, seeing him at Paisley is different from seeing him anywhere else anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
um, but then seeing this show, I don't know. I mean, shoot, like I don't even know. Like, I guess because it was such an intimate show. It was such a, what is the word? I don't even know how to explain it. I don't even know. He
It was
opened himself up so much.
the
It was
vulnerability.
there. Thank you. That's the word.
He
There
was
was a lot
so.
of. He was very vulnerable up on that stage because it
Didn't
was
he?
just him.
Yeah, didn't he cry on
He
stage?
cried.
I'm told by people because we saw, but we could only see but so much. We were blessed; we had a great view, but we had people that we knew that were closer,
Yeah.
and they saw him wiping his eyes a few times, especially when he did Purple Rain.
Yeah, for the second set when he did Purple Rain, I could tell. Well, where we were kind of behind him, but like yeah, it got to him. And he even after he came back on stage, he said sometimes I forget how emotional music can be. He said I might have picked the wrong lineup of songs, but he said, but we'll get through it. And that second set there was a lot of like love songs and
Yeah,
so
but
at
but
one
I
point he said that he said one more and then I'll get her out of my system.
if I may say too, it was nice with the second set how there were more recent songs.
Mm-hmm.
I have been one as a diehard. I am one that likes to. I've gotten to the point where I would like to hear less of the hits and more of other songs because the catalog is so huge and it deserves to be played and heard by everyone. So songs like The Love We Make from Emancipation, A Million Days from Musicology, even the new songs like Look at Me, Look at You from Hit and Run Phase 2 and A Thousand Hugs and Kisses from Hit and Run Phase 1. It was so good to hear those songs live. It really was. The Dance from 3121. It was, oh man, I squealed like a 12-year-old girl and didn't mind it. I mean,
We were making all kinds of noise in our little corner.
I didn't we it was just that crazy.
Yeah.
That sort of thing
Because
was
every song that set, we was like, oh. Yeah.
happening.
A Question of You.
Yes.
Man, look.
I was like,
He did Wow.
he started with Wow, I
Started
think.
with Wow. Yep.
And I was like, and that was appropriate because
Mm-hmm.
that's what we were saying a whole bunch of times throughout that second show alone.
Yeah.
We already made it through the first. The
Yeah.
second one, a whole bunch of wows going on. You
Yeah, the
know,
second set, it wasn't as emotional, like we weren't crying all the time. So that was cool.
no,
Um,
I needed to not cry. I was
yeah.
crying at that point.
Although I wasn't sure because The Love We Make is a song that usually gets to me. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to try to hold it together. But after that, I was cool.
That was my first
Um,
that song live, and I've been praying to hear that song live for like a good 5, 6 years since
I
I knew.
think I've heard it live one other time.
Yeah.
Um, I think it was in 2011 at one of the LA shows, 21
Mm,
Nights.
yeah, that sounds
Um,
right. I do remember him doing that song during that period.
yeah. uh, but yeah, Thousand Hugs and Kisses, that was cool to hear.
The Ladder.
The
The
Ladder. Yeah. Yeah.
Ladder. We all got up as if we were at church when he everybody looking for the ladder. I was like, yes, Jesus, yes.
You know, I thought that one might get to me too, because you know what I thought of was that documentary.
Yeah, that's right.
And when that plays at the end of the documentary, I always get a little misty when I see that. But
Yeah. That documentary made me actually like that song when I first saw it in the 90s because I
mm-hmm,
thought when I was a kid heard it that song bored me, real
mm-hmm.
talk. But when I heard that, it made me look at it in a different way. And
And you
then,
know what?
you know,
Didn't his dad co-write that song?
he did. Yes, he
See,
did.
see,
It all ties in, and this was the second show, mind you.
yeah, yeah. So the second show seemed like it was a continuation of the timeline of story that he was telling us. He didn't continue speaking the story though.
Yeah.
Um, he just continued with songs. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you know what? If I may say, the one thing that I look back on and I'm surprised by with that was that he did not do Adore.
Yeah,
That's a song that I'm sure that most people were thinking he would do, and he didn't do it.
maybe
And
that's why though.
yeah, how about that?
Mm-hmm.
How about that? But then again, with that being said, why would you do Purple Rain? Why not find a way to do When Doves Cry on the piano? That'd be interesting.
That's true.
But but yeah, Purple Rain. I have seen him do something with Purple Rain on the keyboards in the past, but not like that.
Yeah, this was different.
This is just totally different. Even that was a song when I heard him start that I was like, here we go. But middle of it, I caught it and I was like, hold up, this is different.
Mm-hmm.
And you could the way he moved his body during that song. I mean, you could see just from the back that
Yeah.
this man was in a whole different place doing that song. So I can understand what we were talking about earlier about why he was crying. I mean, my God, that's such an emotional song. And he may not have felt it being maybe the wrong set of songs to do, but it worked so perfectly and brilliantly with
Hmm.
the night was, and a new appreciation, yet another new appreciation of Purple Rain, the song. You know,
Um,
and
he's, I want to say October of 2013.
mhm.
Um, when I was out there, he did Purple Rain, and I want to say he was on keyboards. Not alone, though. Um,
Right.
but when he did the song, I'm trying to remember. He had said something like he was speaking beforehand, and he said something about just how sometimes music makes everything all right.
Hmm.
And he went into playing Purple Rain, and it got to me then. And that was because just earlier that evening, my uncle passed away.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm surprised it didn't get to me that night,
Mm.
this night, because it was different. It almost did, but I don't know. It was a different feel to the second show. It was a little more uplifting, so I think it was helping hold me together.
Right.
But but yeah, this was different, and it did get to him. Um, I could tell he was wiping his eyes towards the end of the show, and as he went off stage.
I think I
Um,
that part, but didn't put two and two together.
yeah, and yeah, he was kind of moving around, and like I don't know. He was feeling it.
Was
Whatever it
swaying,
was, whatever it was, he was feeling it.
even like in a way, it was almost like he was posing, but he wasn't. I
Yeah,
mean, right down to how his leg was. It
yeah,
was just so, it was like when you just caught up in music like that, that was him. And
yeah.
I was going, whoa, oh my
Uh,
God. You knew you were watching something special. You knew it. I do hope, though, that with this being said, that Prince does find a way to let this either be out on CD and DVD, or he just takes it on the road, or does a what do you call it, a residency,
mm,
whether it's at Paisley Park or somewhere in America or the world for that matter. This is a show that needs to be witnessed by everybody, not just Prince fans, but music lovers in general. Because you just see somebody who's so who's so developed in his craft. It just it just blows you away.
this is a show that is a history making event.
Very, very.
You don't get to see too many. Well, first of all, we don't have very many artists like this left,
No, we don't.
unfortunately,
Hmm.
and we don't have too many in the making either. So, um,
Mm. That's even more sad because this is a show that so many of these singers, whatever they are, that's a show they needed to see.
yeah, yeah,
They needed to see that one right there. Not everything has to be dancing with 20 people behind you,
yeah,
whatever spectacle you have. And even for even these rock bands that are out here today, you don't have to be so bizarre as whatever it is. You could just strip it down to the bare essentials and not only get your point across, but get it across in a way that is just mind blowing. It doesn't even have to be a catalog of 30 years. It could be something new if you wanted it to be,
hmm
you know. And
But when you have a artist of this um, caliber who can
mhm.
first of all, just if you think about the band in its biggest form over the past few years, where he's had 11 horn players, a drummer, a guitar player beside him, and a bass player, and backup singers, and all this going on. He can do it like that, but then he can strip it down to just himself on a piano. And he can still wow a crowd. Or he can still draw a crowd.
Yeah.
He can still do it. I mean, it's just like he can do it whatever way he needs to do it or wants to do it, and he can get the show. And he said that that night, he said this is the first time that he's ever done a show alone before. And so he said, congratulations to both you and me.
Yeah, he sure did.
And
he was clapping for himself too.
You know, I don't know if he plans on continuing to do the show. I know he did plan on taking it on the road. This seems to me that at least the first show would be a little bit much emotionally for him to continue to do.
Yeah, really.
It seems to me, but that's me saying that maybe that's too much emotion to go through night after night, but maybe that's something he plans to do. I don't know.
Maybe he needs
maybe,
for
yeah.
himself.
It would, I mean, if he could do that, that's cool, because like you said, it's something that I think a lot of fans, it would be a privilege for us all to be able to see. Because of how special these shows were, I would like to thank Prince for sharing himself and all that was in him that night with us. And if you continue to do that, thank you again and again and again. And if you decide to share those recordings, thank you in advance. If not, still thank you. That's what I got to say about it.
And
very much appreciated. Yeah, because this could be us, like his shirt says. So y'all stop playing. Yep. Prince on piano. That's what y'all need to see. If he decides to tour, see that? If he decides to tour, if he does it at Paisley, whatever the case may be, you got to see it. That's where he started. That's what started him on this journey that he's been on. So, full circle, right?
How about that?
Mm-hmm.